Now, we need to first understand where these rulings come from. And just a note here, all these rulings that we shall discuss come from the Hanafi Fiqh. So those people who do practice the other schools of thought, please refer to your respective schools of thought. Now, we need to understand who Imam Azam Abu Hanifa was. Our school, our rules and regulations, they come from the rules deduced and derived by the great Imam. Imam Azam Abu Hanifa Nu'man bin Thabit radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. These sessions are going to be interactive, so inshallah I will be questioning you on a regular basis to make sure you're paying attention, you're attentive and you're learning as well, inshallah. So what is the name of our great Imam? Imam Azam Abu Hanifa Nu'man bin Thabit radiyallahu ta'ala. Nu'man, the son of Thabit radiyallahu ta'ala. So Abu Hanifa radiallahu ta'ala was born in the year 680 Hijri. So 80 years after the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam migrated from Makkah to Mukarramah to escape the persecutions of the Kuffar to Medina Sharif. 80 years after this incident, Imam Azam Abu Hanifa radiallahu ta'ala was born in the city of Kufa. Does anybody know where Kufa is? In Iraq. So Kufa is present in the modern, in current day country of Iraq. He passed away in the year 150 Hijri. So can anyone tell me how many years he lived? 70 years, exactly. So Imam Azam lived for 70 years in this life. And subhanAllah, the advancements that he made in the field of fiqh are truly astounding. Imam Azam Abu Hanifa radiallahu ta'ala, he died in Baghdad Sharif. Alhamdulillah, I've had the opportunity to visit his Masjid Mubarak. Alhamdulillah, what a blessed place it is as well. Now, he was a person of a great caliber. He had immense knowledge. It has been narrated that once his father, his grandfather, he presented a halwa in the court of Hazrat Ali radiallahu ta'ala. And Hazrat Ali radiallahu ta'ala, he made dua to the father of Imam Azam and his offspring. So Allah knows best. It's a possibility that Hazrat Imam Azam Abu Hanifa is the dua of Hazrat Ali radiallahu ta'ala. So Hazrat Imam Azam, what a great personality he was. It has been said by his students that for 40 years, how many years? 40 years, he offered his Fajr Salah with the Wudhu of the Isha. So he spent the entire night in the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for 40 years. Subhanallah. This was a great maqam of Imam Azam Abu Hanifa radiallahu ta'ala. Now where did he derive these rulings from? The rulings pertaining to wuzu, namaz, tahara, zakat, hajj. Where do these rulings come from? And we need to understand that these rulings come from 4 different places. The first is the Holy Quran. So all our major rulings come from the Quran, the Holy Quran. The second is the Hadith. What is the Hadith? The Hadith is the saying, the action or the silent approval of the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. The third is Ijma'. Ijma' means the consensus of the Ummah. So if the scholars, they agree upon one thing, then that becomes Sharia. And finally is Qiyas, is analogy. So if something exists, which did not exist at the time of the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, then the scholars will use similar rulings and apply that ruling on this thing as well. For example, drugs, okay? Heroin and cocaine. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has forbade these in the Holy Quran. So the scholars have said that these, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has forbade all intoxicants in the Holy Quran. So the scholars have said that heroin and cocaine, these are intoxicants, therefore they are haram as well. So this is an example of qiyas. So these 4 things are where rulings are derived from. So inshallah we shall begin with the topic of wudu, which is part of tahara. In the hadith, the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam has said that at-tuhuru shatrul iman. That tuhur, tahara, cleanliness is half of iman. Cleanliness, my dear brothers, is very, very important. And it is paramount before we do any acts of worship that we clean ourselves. Universally, you will see that before a person carries out an important action, Before we eat, what do? We wash ourselves. Before we go to an interview, before we attend a function, before we go to see the president or the prime minister or an important person, we wash and we clean ourselves and we adorn ourselves. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He states in the Holy Quran, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا إذا قمتم إلى الصلاة فاغسلوا وجوهكم وأيديكم إلى المرافق وامسحوا برؤوسكم وأرجلكم إلى الكعبين. That all people, all believers, when you stand for prayer, then what should you do? You should فاغسلوا وجوهكم. You should wash your faces. And وأيديكم إلى المرافق. And you should wash your arms until the elbows. وَامْسَحُوا بِرَؤُوسِكُمْ. And you should do the masah, you should wipe your head. And finally, وَرُجُلَكُمْ إِلَى الْكَعْبَيْنِ. And you should wash your feet until your ankles. Now you might say that, hang on a second, when we perform wudu, we wash our hands, we gargle, we clean the nose. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is mentioning only these four things. Inshallah, we shall cover this when the session comes along. So I do hope, inshallah, you will stay and you will attend these sessions regularly and learn as much information, as much knowledge as possible, because the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam has said that to seek knowledge, to gain knowledge is farz, is compulsory upon every single male and female. So it is our collective responsibility that we attend these sessions and we learn all the important rulings regarding our beautiful religion. Now, inshallah, before I dwell into the rules, the specific rules considered with wudu, inshallah, I will talk about some of the beautiful virtues and blessings of wudu. And inshallah, I will share with you a few ahadith of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Lushi pari Allahumma salli ala sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa barik wa sallam salatu wa salam alayhi ya sayyidi ya Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. In Bukhari Sharif and Muslim Sharif, narrated by Hazrat Abu Hurairah radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, who says that the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam has said, on the day of judgment, my ummah shall be called, and their faces, hands and feet shall be glowing due to wudu. So who can should increase their glow. So the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he's saying that whoever wishes to have their body parts shining and glowing on the day of judgment, then continuously perform wudu. And inshallah these body parts will shine like no other. Imam Malik and Nasa'i, in Nasa'i, it has been stated by Abdullah radiallahu ta'ala, who says, when a Muslim performs wudu, on gargling, the sins of the mouth are washed away. On cleaning the nose, the sins of the nose are washed away. On washing the face, the sins of the face are washed away until the sins drop from the eyebrows. When washing the arms, the sins of the arms fall off until even the sins beneath the nails. When a person does the masah, then the sins of the hair fall off until the sins of the earlobes, they fall down as well. And finally, when he washes the feet, then all of the sins of the feet that he has committed also fall away from his feet. And then, when he travels and he walks to the masjid and he offers his prayer, this is extra reward that person will get. SubhanAllah, look at the reward of the maqam of that person who performs wudu. And Imam Azam radiallahu ta'ala, again, just to understand his maqam, his status, whenever he used to perform wudu and a person would sit beside him and perform wudu, then from the water droplets falling off from his body, he could tell what sins that person has committed. Allahu Akbar. Again, testimony and evidence that when a person performs wudu, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala purifies that individual from the sins he has committed. Subhanallah. In Mu'jamul As-Awsat of Imam Tabrani, Hazrat Ali radiallahu ta'ala says, whosoever performs wudu in extreme cold weather, which we always get here in the UK, it is forever very cold, and sometimes the boiler breaks, so we perform wudu in extreme cold water. But glad tidings to you, O people of UK. And Hazrat Ali said, the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam has said, that whosoever performs wudu in extreme cold, then he will get double the reward. So if a person, if his sins are being purified by performing wudu, But if he performs it in cold weather using cold water, then his reward is doubled. Only Allah knows best what reward that person will get, inshallah. In Sahih Muslim, narrated by Uqba bin Amir radiallahu ta'ala, who said that the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, when a Muslim performs wudu, and he performs a complete wudu, not the wudu like we see when people come, they rush and they wash their hands and splash water on their faces and that's it, they finish. Allahu Akbar. What kind of wudu is this? Okay? They perform complete wudu. Perform wudu slowly, okay? Peacefully. And then he stands with a clear mind and conscience, internally and externally, and then offers 2 rak'at namaz, then Jannat becomes wajib for that individual. Allahu Akbar. Look at the maqam of a person who does wuzu but takes his time. Okay? Does it sincerely, does it calmly, collectively, and does it properly by fulfilling all the faraiz and all the sunnah actions of wuzu, which inshallah we shall cover in the coming sessions. So, when the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said that when he clears his mind and conscience, both internally and externally, what does that mean? That means that before he stands in salah, his intentions are sincere. His focus is towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When he is offering his prayer, he is not playing with his clothes. He is not playing with his beard. Many times you see people when they're offering salah, okay? They're not disturbing themselves, but they are disturbing you as well. Remember that we are standing in the court of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If we were to be standing in front of, let's say, the Prime Minister or the President, we would stand with the utmost respect. We would not move. But here is the Creator of all the creation. Here is our Creator, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who we are standing in front of. So who has more worthy of utmost respect other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Inshallah, just a few more ahadith and I'll finish. I'm conscious that I'm taking a lot of the time here. But inshallah, we shall finish shortly. In Muslim, Hazrat Umar radiallahu ta'ala has said, and this should be a practice, inshallah, let's all practice on this hadith, very beautiful hadith. And it is a very simple of actions that a person can do. Hazrat Umar radiallahu ta'ala said, that whosoever performs wudu and a complete wudu, and then recites the following, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lah, wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. All 8 doors of paradise are open for that individual, and he can enter paradise through whichever door he wishes. So inshallah, let's again recite together this kalima, which is effectively the second kalima. Let's all recite together. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lah, wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. Once more. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lah, wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. In Jari Qutli and in Bayhaqi, Hazrat Abdullah bin Mas'ud radiallahu ta'ala has said that whosoever recited Bismillah prior to wudu, all his sins from his head to toe are forgiven. And whosoever performed wudu without uttering Bismillah, then only those parts of the body will be purified which he washed. So this is the difference between saying Bismillah before wudu and not saying it before wudu. So whenever we perform wudu, we should always start by uttering the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because in another hadith, the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam has said that that action before which the name of Allah is not recited, then it will be incomplete. Okay? So we should always, before doing any good action, any virtuous action, we should always recite Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Finally, miswak, the importance of miswak. In Tabrani, Hazrat Ali radiallahu ta'ala has said, if it was burdensome, the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam has said, if it was burdensome upon my ummah, then I would obligate them to use miswak when performing wudu. So I would make it farz upon them to do miswak before performing wudu. But look at the maqam of miswak. The Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam in a narration has said that offering salah after having performed miswak is 70 times, okay, 70 times better than without using miswak. So this is the great maqam of using miswak. We should all use miswak. We should look this up and dwell upon the benefits of using miswak. There are innumerable benefits, many benefits of using miswak. And we should realize that performing wudu is just not external purification, but it also has an inner dimension to it as well. As the Imam Ghazali, the famous author of the book Al-Ihya al-Ulumuddin, he says that there are 3 degrees of purification. Okay, we think that purifying ourselves to wash our body parts and limbs and body, let's say we offer our prayer. No. There are 3 degrees of purification of the body. The first is to purify one's internal from everything apart from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this purification is associated to the Anbiya Kiram and the Sulahat. The second degree, which inshallah should apply to some of us here, is to purify one's heart from all different ailments such as jealousy, such as hatred, such as enmity towards each other. This is what we should be targeting towards. We should try and eliminate this disease from our hearts and purify our hearts from this. And this is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Messenger said, إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يَنْظُرُ إِلَى سُوَرِكُمْ بَلْ يَنْظُرُ إِلَى قُلُوبِكُمْ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not look at your external attire, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala looks at your heart. So we should bring a sound heart to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And finally, for the common people, for the common Muslims, the 3rd degree of purification is to purify oneself from committing sins. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us all the tawfiq to practice, especially myself, the tawfiq to practice, and as all the tawfiq to practice what has been taught today in the Sira session, in the 5th session as well. And inshallah next week we shall talk about the rulings regarding wudu. So we shall talk about how wudu is performed. We shall talk about the farz aspects of wudu, the sunnah aspects of wudu, and inshallah we shall talk about the things which break wudu. And inshallah on a weekly basis we shall learn all the essential rulings concerning our acts of worship. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept our efforts from alayna ila al-balaghi bin salam.
A question about this wudhu. You said, when the people do wudhu or sin, and myself, even myself, when we do wudhu, we always talk about the wall and talk about gossip and we're talking about backbiting. So what is the condition about that?
Subhanallah. Just before I answer the question, if you do have any questions, I would request you to write these down and inshallah pass them to me. I would like to obviously answer these questions with some more evidence and do a bit more research to it before I answer these questions, so inshallah get the full picture and the full flavour of the answer. But inshallah, just in short, to answer your question about those people who, when they're performing wudu, they talk about the worldly things, okay? They talk about the world, they backbite about people. By doing this, they are removing the soul of wudu, okay? The ruh of wudu is that you're preparing mentally and physically, okay? Your hazli, okay? Your presence in the court of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When the time of namaz came, and when he used to sit in to perform wudu, he used to shake and tremble. And the people asked him, "Oh Imam Zainul Abidin, why are you trembling? Why are you shaking?" He said, "Oh Ghafil, oh person, don't you know I am going to be facing my Lord? The sins I have committed, how can I face my Lord in this condition, in this state?" This was the condition of the people before they used to perform wudu. So when we're performing wudu, we should make sure that our mind is present, okay? That our heart is present. And we should, backbiting is haram. To do it during wudu, astaghfirullah, even worse. So we should refrain from this sin, okay? And the angels, they dissipate from that person who performs, who talks during performing wudu. Okay? And there's no barakah, there's no blessing.
Another question you said about after the wudu, when we read the second kalima. So is it just when you finish the wudu, or you have to look at the sky and read the kalima?
Yes. There's a narration that the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that when a person looks up to the sky and perform, and he should recite this dua. So there's also a narration mentioning that he should look up towards the sky and recite the second kalima. So you can do that as well. That is also in one narration.
As you're doing Muslim, if somebody says Salaam Alaikum as they walk through, is it good to say Salaam Alaikum as the person's doing Muslim, then he has to reply Alaikum Salam, obviously?
Yes, there's no, yes. So you should reply to one's salam. To send salam is sunnah, to reply to one's salam is wajib.
Even if you do, as you do.
Yes, as you do. Alhamdulillah. لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد